Welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 to the road to becoming a Pokemon champion. Chapter 2, Meeting the Starters. It was late at night in Pallet Town. Stores had closed hours ago, and most people had already gone to sleep for the night. There were few sounds at this time to disturb anyone in the rural community. It was very tranquil and peaceful. There was still one light on in Pallet Town. However, it showed from the second-story window from the bedroom of a two-story house. The said bedroom belonged to Ash Ketchum. It had been 3 years since he was at Pallet Town summer camp. Now, he was 10 years of age, and tomorrow would be the day he would finally begin his journey to be a Pokemon master. It had been the only thing he had thought about the entire day. He currently had the television turned on to a Pokemon battle between a Jenga and Nidorino. Jenga was of the ghost/poison type Pokemon, and was dark purple in color with its face in a mischievous grin. It had protrusions coming from its back that resembled spikes. Nidorino was a poison type Pokemon, and was dark pink, and resembled a large rabbit. It had a large horn protruding from its forehead. The Pokemon belonged to members of the elite for themselves. Jenga belonged to Agatha, and Nidorino belonged to Bruno. Despite the intensity of the battle, Ash wasn't paying it much mind. He was too focused on his journey for tomorrow. Ash's mother had just bought him some new clothes for his journey earlier that day, which he was currently trying on. They consisted of a plain black short-sleeved shirt with a pair of blue jeans. Over the black shirt he had on a blue jacket with white short sleeves which he wore open. On his hands were a pair of black fingerless gloves with green edgings. He was also wearing his favorite red and white hat. It was the official Pokemon League hat. Ash claimed he had to send in about 1 million postcards to win it, which made it very special to him. Alright. Tomorrow is finally the day, Ash said to himself. My dream to become a Pokemon master is going to begin. He then picked up an alarm clock in the shape of a Pokeball, and held it out in front of him. I will be the very best like no one ever was. That is what Ash. Get to bed. The sudden appearance of Delia Ketchum, his mother, in the doorway and her shout startled Ash so much that he threw the alarm clock across the room. Luckily, Delia caught it. It then opened up and revealed a mechanical Pidgey that was cuckooing. Ash's mother was a woman in her late 30s with brown eyes and long brown hair which was tied into a ponytail. She was currently wearing her night robe. It's late, Ash, Delia continued. Tomorrow is the day you start your Pokemon journey. You need your rest so you don't oversleep and get a late start. I know, Mom. I'm just so excited for tomorrow that I'm not tired. I'll go to bed real soon, though. I promise, Ash replied. Fine. You have 10 more minutes, and then I want to see you in bed, young man, Delia told him with her hands on her hips. She then walked over to the television and set down his Pidgey clock before she changed the channel. In the meantime, at least watch something a little more educational. With that, Delia walked out of the room. Ash turned to the television. The channel she had changed it to featured Professor Oak discussing the 3 starter Pokemon that trainers could choose from. They consisted of Charmander, Bulbasaur, and Squirtle. Trainers may only choose one, and each one had their own strengths and weaknesses that would serve trainers differently depending on the circumstance. For all you future Pokemon trainers out there, Professor Oak began, I'd like to present to you the starter Pokemon. They are Bulbasaur, the grass type, Charmander, the fire type, and Squirtle, the water type. One of these 3 powerful Pokemon await you, and will be your loyal companions, but remember, Pokemon are also your friends. Perhaps you will choose Bulbasaur, whose razor-sharp leaves and vines can cut through the thickest forest. Maybe Charmander, whose strong body is sure to be useful in tough climates, or perhaps Squirtle is more to your liking, who can get you across any body of water. They all look so good. It will be a really tough choice, Ash thought. He did know that whomever he chose would be the best friend Ash could ask for. He couldn't wait to meet his future partner tomorrow. Elsewhere in Pallet Town, just a few houses down, a girl with honey blonde hair was already in bed. Like Ash, however, she was unable to get to sleep. The girl was Serena Gabina. She was no longer the super shy girl she was when she first moved to Pallet Town. She had fit into the Pallet Town crew just fine in the past 3 years. She and Leaf had become best friends in that time, and did all sorts of things together, whether it be watching movies, talking about the latest thing, or discussing whether Gary or Ash was more clueless. They usually agreed that it was Ash. Serena valued her friendship with Leaf, because there were some things a girl could just never discuss with a boy. Serena and Gary were able to get along most of the time, though they did argue sometimes, but nowhere near the intensity or as often as Gary and Ash did. Those two were still fierce rivals, and competed at just about everything. Though Gary wasn't as much of a jerk as he used to be, and could even be pretty nice sometimes, he could never seem to let go of that arrogant attitude of his. That was what Serena, as well as Ash and Leaf, couldn't stand about him. Then there was Ash. Ever since that day at summer camp, when he helped her, she had developed a secret crush on Ash. Well, it wasn't really a secret, as the only person who didn't seem to know about it was Ash himself. Serena had never known anyone as kind as Ash Ketchum. Just as he promised, he came over to play with her after summer camp, and had been the one to properly introduce her to Leaf and Gary. She and Ash had played together all the time and always had a blast. She could see him for only a minute, and be happy the rest of the day. He had also been the one to get her the hat she loves to wear now. 30 happy birthday, Serena. Ash said with a smile as he handed her the present. It was Serena's 10th birthday. Serena's mother, Grace, was throwing a birthday party at her house and invited Ash, Leaf, and Gary. Serena had already opened all of her presents except for Ash's. Thank you, Ash, Serena replied gratefully as she took the present. Serena then sat down as she began to unwrap it. She couldn't wait to see what her crush had given her. Once she unwrapped it, it unveiled a medium-sized box. She opened the box, and inside was a pink hat, with a black horizontal stripe which ran across it, and had a pink brim. I hope you like it, Serena, Ash said a little shyly, and rubbed the back of his neck. I know I'm not very good with fashion, but I saw that hat in the store the other day and thought you might look good in it, so Ash. I love it. Serena exclaimed. She then jumped up and gave Ash a great big hug which actually caused him to redden slightly. That's great. I'm glad, he said a little nervously. I'm going to try it on right now. Serena beamed. She then placed the hat on her head and gave a wink and a smile. How do I look? She asked everyone. Great. Leaf exclaimed. Very stylish. Meh. It looks okay, Gary shrugged, but Leaf kicked him in the leg. Gary glared at her, before he turned back to Serena. Yeah. You look great, he said. Serena chuckled before she turned back to Ash. Thanks again, Ash. I'm going to wear it every day. Oh. Heh. You're welcome, Ash replied. 30 true to her word, ever since Ash had given her the hat, she had worn it every day. It was stylish, and went well with her outfits, but the best part was that it was a gift from Ash. Her birthday had been a few months ago, and tomorrow was the day she would begin her Pokemon journey, as well. The only problem was she had no idea what her goal would be. Ash, Gary, and Leaf had known what they had wanted to do for a long time. Why couldn't she decide what her goal was? She could only hope that, by going on this journey, that she would find something that caught her interest and pursue it. Furthermore, she didn't want to go on this journey by herself. Serena believed journeys were always better with more than one person. You would always have someone looking out for you in case something happened, and it was, of course, more fun to have someone else to talk to. She hoped Ash, Leaf, or even Gary, okay. Maybe not Gary, would accept her to accompany them. All these thoughts were swimming through her head, and she just couldn't get to sleep. Serena gave a sigh. This was going to be a long night. Today is finally the day, Ash thought as finished tying his tennis shoes. It was the next morning, and he had been waiting for this moment a long time. Ash was pumped. He ran out of his room, down the stairs, and then burst into the kitchen. His mother, Delia, had just finished cooking him a big breakfast. Ash, this is the last meal I'm going to cook for you in a while, so I hope you're hungry. I made plenty, Delia said as set the plate of food down on the table. Ash looked hungrily at the plate of food in front of him. I consisted of a stack of pancakes and plenty of bacon on the side. Thanks, Mom. Ash said as he began to dig in. It all tasted so good. He really would miss his mom's cooking while he was gone. Oh, my little baby is going on his Pokemon journey. You're growing up so fast. Delia said as she began to tear up as Ash finished his breakfast. Mom, Ash muttered in an embarrassed tone, but Delia ignored it. Now, Professor Oak is waiting for you, Ash. You should go ahead to the lab. You don't want to be late, do you? Delia asked him. It was then that Ash looked at the clock. He only had 10 minutes until he was supposed to be at Professor Oak's lab. Oh, no. I'm running late. Ash exclaimed as he dashed out of the house. Make sure to stop by the house again before you leave. Delia called after him. Okay. Ash shouted back. Serena. Hurry up, or you'll be late. Grace, Serena's mother, called out upstairs to her daughter. I know. I can't figure out what to wear, though. Serena yelled back. Just pick something. Grace said in exasperation. Serena then came downstairs, still in her pink pajamas. I can't decide between these two blouses. What do you think? Serena asked, holding up the two blouses for her mother to see. One was a black blouse with a white collar. The other was pretty similar in design, but was a different color. It was a light gray color, with a black collar. Her mother mused as she examined them, before she made a decision. I like the light gray one with the black collar. Alright. That settles it. The black blouse it is. Serena cried with delight as she ran back upstairs to her room to change. Wait. You're going to choose the opposite of what I said? I thought you wanted my opinion, Grace said with confusion as she watched her daughter go back up the stairs. Serena then turned around and let out a giggle and a wink. The outfit that you chose would definitely be the less fashionable one, she replied, causing Grace to roll her eyes. Fine. Just hurry up and change, Grace advised and looked at her watch. Professor Oak said he wanted all of you there by 10 o'clock, and it's already 9:45. About 2 minutes later, Serena came down in her clothes. Aside from the black blouse with the white collar, her outfit consisted of a pink skirt that went slightly above her knees, black thigh-high socks, solid black shoes, and of course, the pink hat that Ash had given her. Do I look okay, Mom? She asked. You look fine. Now go. Just make sure, after you get your Pokemon, to come back here to grab your things. Grace urged. Okay. Bye, Mom. Love you. Serena said with a wave as she ran out the door. Serena also gave a quick goodbye to her mother's Rhyhorn that was walking around in the front yard. Then she turned the corner and dashed down the road to Professor Oak's lab. As Grace watched her daughter go, she shook her head and sighed. She knew that Serena didn't want to do Rhyhorn racing for the rest of her life, and that was fine. She just wished her daughter would find a goal, trainer, coordinator, breeder, watcher, connoisseur, anything. Grace actually had encouraged her daughter to stay at home for a while, until she could find out what she wanted to do, but Serena had insisted so strongly on leaving this year, probably because Ash was leaving, that her mother had to give in. Grace then turned to head to the kitchen. Serena is really into fashion. Maybe she could be a Pokemon fashion designer. It's the only other thing I can think of, she thought. Serena continued to hurry along the path to Professor Oak's lab. She would be really embarrassed to be late on her first day of getting a Pokemon. She knew that, if she continued to run, she should be able to make it on time. As she was running, she came to an intersection, and caught sight of Ash coming from the other side, also running. At least she wasn't the only one pressed for time. Ash. Hi. Serena said in between breaths as she turned the corner to Professor Oak's lab. Hi, Serena. Ash replied, also in between breaths as he turned the corner. They continued to run side by side. They were almost there. They ran up the steps and burst through the door just before the clock struck 10. Both of them were panting heavily. Gary and Leaf were already there, and were waiting for Ash and Serena. Both of them were geared up for their Pokemon journey too. Gary had on a long-sleeved purple shirt and dark blue pants. He also wore brown boots and a green necklace. Leaf was wearing a sky blue sleeveless shirt, a red skirt, knee-high light blue socks, white tennis shoes, and a white hat with red stripes and half Pokeball symbol on it. Behind them stood Professor Samuel Oak himself. He was an older man in his early 60s. He was of average size and build for an adult, and had neatly combed grey hair and thick, black bushy eyebrows. He wore a white lab coat over a red polo shirt securely tucked into khaki pants with a belt. Well. It seems all of you are here on time, Professor Oak commented, giving the four a smile. I know all of you are very excited. A whole new adventure awaits you all. It's the incredible world of Pokemon. Your journey with your partner Pokemon will have many fun times, but also there may be dangerous times as well. If it ever comes to that, you must use your Pokemon to protect you. Always remember this, though. Your Pokemon are not just there to protect you from danger, they are also your friends and partners. Do you understand? All four nodded their heads, each with different thoughts going through their head. This is it. I can't wait. I'm gonna be the very best. Ash thought. Here it is. I hope I'm ready, Serena thought. This is great. I can't wait to see all the different Pokemon. Leaf thought. Heh, it's about time. Now the world will see what a real Pokemon trainer looks like, Gary thought. Very well. In that case, please follow me to the other room to meet your first Pokemon, Professor Oak said. He then turned around and began walking into the main part of the lab, the four soon-to-be trainers following him. Professor Oak led them into a large room with a large computer on one side. In the center of the room was a circular table with 3 Pokeballs sitting on top of it. Other than that, the room was pretty bare. Here they are. One of these will become your very first Pokemon, Professor Oak stated, gesturing to the Pokeballs on the table. One of the Pokeballs contains Bulbasaur, the grass-type Pokemon. One contains Charmander, the fire-type Pokemon, and the other contains Squirtle, the water-type Pokemon. Choose your Pokemon wisely. Who would like to go first? Ash, always the gentleman, said, ladies first, as they say, causing both Serena and Leaf to smile at him. Gary just shrugged. Whatever. Those two can go first if they want. It's not like it makes a difference. I'll be the best, no matter which one I have. Then it's settled. Professor Oak stated with a nod. Serena, Leaf, please go ahead and pick your Pokemon. Leaf walked up to the table first. She had known which Pokemon she wanted from the very beginning. I like all the Pokemon here, but if I had to choose one, it would be Bulbasaur. So come on out, she said as she grabbed the Pokeball and pushed the center button to open it. A beam of white light shot out of the Pokeball until it materialized into a small grayish-green dinosaur-like Pokemon with a large green bulb on its back. Bulbasaur looked around at all of its surroundings before its eyes settled on Leaf, its new trainer. Leaf knelt down to be more eye level with it. You're so cute, she exclaimed. Would you like to travel with me, Bulbasaur? Bulbasaur studied Leaf for a moment before smiling and cried, Bulbasaur, signaling that it approved. It figures you would choose a grass-type Pokemon, since your name is Leaf, Gary smirked, causing Leaf to stick her tongue out at him. Haha, very funny, she said sarcastically. Serena, why don't you go ahead and choose your next Pokemon? Professor Oak suggested. Go on, Serena. I'm really excited to see which Pokemon you get. Ash said, giving her a thumbs up. Serena smiled back at Ash and felt herself blush a bit, but quickly hid it from the others. She then walked up to the table and studied the remaining 2 Pokeballs. The one she chose would be her partner for life. She really had to make sure she chose the right one. Squirtle or Charmander? Serena took a deep breath as she made her decision. Charmander. I choose you. Serena said as she opened the Pokeball to reveal Charmander. It was an orange salamander Pokemon that stood on 2 legs. It had a flame burning at the end of its tail. Char. Char, it cried as it ran up and hugged Serena's legs. Serena instantly liked it. Ooh, it's so cute. Leaf squealed, jumping up and down, causing Serena, Ash, and Professor Oak to laugh. Gary just rolled his eyes and snorted. Annoying girl, he thought. Well, you certainly are friendly, aren't you? Serena said as she picked up Charmander and held it out in front of her. Would you like to come along with me? Charmander nodded enthusiastically. It then reached out and took Serena's hat and placed it on its head before it winked. It was clearly a female Charmander. Ha ha ha. Do you like my hat? Serena giggled as she took it back. Char. Char. Charmander replied and nodded again. I've got a nickname for you, Charmander, Serena began. How about I call you Charla? Charmander, it agreed and nodded again. Serena smiled. She believed she had made the right choice for her Pokemon. She just secretly hoped she was good enough for the friendly Pokemon considering she didn't know what she wanted to do yet. Gary decided he would go next. He walked up to the table and looked at the remaining Pokeball. Well, I guess that leaves this one for me, he said as he grabbed the Pokeball and opened it. Come out, Squirtle. The Pokeball opened to reveal Squirtle. It was a small, light blue turtle Pokemon that stood on 2 legs and had a curly tail coming out of its shell. It stood there with its arms crossed and had a confident expression on its face. Heh, you look like a tough guy. Why don't you travel with me, Squirtle? We'll conquer anyone in our path. Soon, everyone will know our name. Gary offered as he looked down at Squirtle. Squirtle, it responded. Gary and Squirtle both began to laugh arrogantly. Everyone else in the room sweat dropped. Those two were just alike. I guess that leaves me, Ash said as he went to the table. It was then that he noticed something very wrong. There were only 3 Pokeballs that were on the table and 4 trainers. There weren't any Pokemon left. Everyone else in the room realized this too, as they got nervous expressions on their faces. Professor Oak. You did have at least 4 Pokemon prepared for us, right? There is at least one more Pokemon for me, isn't there? Ash asked hopefully. Serena, Leaf, and Gary looked at Professor Oak. They were wondering the same thing. Professor Oak began to rub the back of his neck. Well, there is one other Pokemon for me to give. It is rather different, however. Are you sure you want it? He asked with an unsure expression. Definitely. I'll take it. Ash said with no hesitation. If you are sure, Professor Oak said as he pushed a button on the side of the table. The center of the table opened up, and a small platform rose out of the opening. On top of the platform was a Pokeball with a small lightning bolt on it. Professor Oak then picked up the Pokeball and gave Ash a serious expression. Okay, Ash. This Pokemon has had bad experiences with humans in the past. It's very distrustful with humans as a result. I had to work very hard for it to even let me come near it. I'm trusting you to give this Pokemon the love and friendship it deserves. Will you do that? I will, Professor. You can count on me. This Pokemon and I will become the best of friends. Ash replied with a smile. Very well, Ash. Here you go. I must ask everyone else to stand back a few feet so as not to startle it, Professor Oak said as he gave Ash the Pokeball. Despite the temptation to get as close of a look as possible, the other kids obeyed and stepped back a few feet. Ash then looked to the Pokeball in his hand. Whichever Pokemon was in this Pokeball would become his lifelong partner. Whatever this Pokemon had gone through, Ash would help it overcome it, and be the best friend a Pokemon could ask for. Here we go, Ash thought as he opened the Pokeball. The white beam shot out of the Pokeball, and landed on the table as it began to take shape. The kids all waited anxiously, to see what kind of Pokemon would come out of the Pokeball. The shape the beam was becoming clearer, and it was soon obvious to everyone, that it wasn't going to be a Charmander, Bulbasaur, or Squirtle that would come out. The beam finally stopped shooting as the Pokemon began to appear. The Pokemon was yellow in color, and looked like a mouse. It had pointy ears, that were tipped with black, and one red circle on each of its cheeks. It also had a lightning bolt-shaped tail. It was a Pikachu.